The following podcast contains strong language. Hello and welcome back to the Ciné Rambles podcast. You're listening to Nick
and Andrew,
and we're here with your weekly fix of film-related ramblings. So we've got quite a lot to get through today, so I'm going to just jump straight into it. In response to last week's episode where we discussed Disney and its passive progressivism, I've got some more points I'd like to add. I don't know about you, Andy.
Yeah, I've got a couple of bits and bobs.
Okay. Because basically, while listening back in the edit, I realised when I was talking about specifically the idea that Disney doesn't really support the LGBT society because it sort of crumbles in order to fit the Chinese market. I realised I didn't actually quite reach the point I was trying to make in the first place, which is basically that Disney, at least with these types of films, things like Black Panther it's a bit better with, for example, but like with things like the Beauty and the Beast and Onward and other films where it's a very fleeting kind of use of a gay character which can then be cut easily, it's not supporting LGBT rights, but it's actually exploiting that audience. And that's the key point though, isn't it? Because it's not doing it because they want to support the community, it's doing it because they'll know they'll get the community support by having it in there.
Is there a gay character in Black Panther?
What?
You said Black Panther?
Yeah, I was saying because I also thought about, because there are films where they do representation. As much as I do moan about Black Panther as a film, it is at least a better representation than like of the black community than say Beauty and the Beast is of the gay community.
Oh, I see. Right.
Like, because that's the other thing I kind of wanted to bring up, and because you say last week we don't commend Disney enough, and like again, I have had problems with Black Panther, but it is at least a lot closer to being a much more supportive in that it's a film inextricably about that culture.
Yes. Yeah.
And it infiltrates every part of it. There is no
shying away from it at all, which is good.
Yeah, exactly. Arguably to the point that it's patronising, that's a different thing. The point is that is actually okay. Like that one, as opposed to being like, that can be cut out and showed to China.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the point is that with and it seems to be mainly about the gay community specifically, because this seems to be where this happens the most, where Disney just pretends to support it in order to get money and exploit that audience who are desperate to have some kind of representation and will basically take anything, and Disney knows it, and then will not hold up at all. And the moment it goes overseas, it's gone. So that was the end of the point that I was trying to make and didn't quite reach to.
Yeah.
So that's my conclusion, basically.
Well done.
Thank you.
So the thing I wanted to say was, well, when I was Penny watched last week's episode or listened to it, she was talking about it because she is a big fan of Disney and has a lot to say about it, and she started talking about I can't remember his name. She also laughed at us because you and I are terrible at remembering any names at all. So she was taking the piss for that, which is completely fine because
that's fair.
We are awful with names. I just sort of pull a name out of my arse and stick it to the character I'm talking about, hoping it's vaguely the right thing.
I think I called the villain in Frozen Hans, but I think Hans is actually the good guy. But I can't remember. I know there's one guy in Frozen called Hans.
Okay.
Don't know where he is. He's in there somewhere. He might be an extra.
Okay. Great.
Anyway.
She said something about how the general guy in Mulan is gay for Ping, but Ping turns out to be Mulan, so it's, he's not actually gay or whatever. And there's this whole like Tumblr, it's very Tumblr thread about the whole thing.
That's not a completely out there idea though, because
no, it's not. Sense. But the thing is, right? This isn't, none of it's canon. And then I went on to, I googled it and I read a load of articles about LGBT characters in Disney, but it's all just a load of bollocks, basically. Beyond that one, beyond Josh Gad in Beauty and the Beast and that one very, very side character in Onward, it's all like just speculation and bullshit, like of people
Yeah,
being
there's
like,
nothing
"Oh, this
concrete
character's
within the film.
gay," but there's like, well, no, they're not. They're not, because Disney have declared that they're not, and if it's just like people attributing them to being gay because they want them to be, because if they're hoping Disney is more accepting than they actually are. I feel like they're giving too much credit to Disney.
Exactly. Like I was saying, they're so desperate for some kind of like representation from Disney, which like have their favorite films, that they'll find anything that can even remotely be twisted to be like that, and they'll clamor to it.
Yeah.
But I mean, like you're saying, Mulan, that's it'd be interesting if I mean, I will bet money that this isn't covered in the live action version.
Yeah.
But if they did do something about that and sort of like questioning his sexuality,
Yeah. That's right. Yes. But I doubt that will ever happen.
no, absolutely not.
Do you have anything else to add to the Disney chat?
I mean, that's. I feel like anything else I can add probably end up repeating myself.
Yeah.
But I did come up with a lot more sort of ravings while I was editing. But I think I've covered most of it.
Yeah. I just think until they fully commit, it will be tokenism and
Exactly. Like I said last week, until they make a film that's has it inextricably as like a major theme and like part of the story, it's just not true representation, really.
But also, they need to do. They can't go too far. As in, they can't just be like, this person's gay and their entire personality is that they are gay.
Yes, exactly.
And the whole story is about them being gay and there's nothing beyond them other than that they are gay.
No.
It's like... I mean, I know you haven't seen it, but the best representation of a gay character on screen that I've seen, personally, is Captain Raymond Holt from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Okay.
Because he's excellent. I just feel like Disney need to have more Captain Raymond Holt in their works, even though he's got absolutely nothing to do with Disney. But if he was a Disney princess, I'd watch it.
Well, you never know. If Disney buys out the company that makes... Who makes Brooklyn Nine-Nine? What studio is that?
Is it AMC? I don't know. They recently changed studios.
Okay. Well, I mean, Disney will probably buy him one day anyway, and then that dream will come true at the expense of the diverse competition.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine is NBC. I think
NBC
it used
Universal.
to be Fox.
Okay.
But now it's NBC.
It jumped the Fox ship just as Disney came.
Just in time, yeah.
Have we got any more correspondence?
No.
Okay. In which case, I'm going to move on to the news. So I've got quite a few things I want to cover.
Yeah.
It's always quite annoying that we record these on like Tuesdays or sometimes Wednesdays to go out on Fridays, because it seems almost every time we record these, some really interesting bit of film news happens almost like exactly the day after we finish recording.
Yeah.
And we've got like a whole week to get back to it. But so quite a few things happened last week. First thing I want to talk about is the Oscars are now accepting streaming-only films to be able to be nominated, as opposed to in the past. If you think about things like Roma, for example, which were predominantly streaming, but they had like a single theatrical release.
1 week. Yeah,
it was
theatrical
1
release.
week in Hollywood for it to count. But now they're being like, no, you don't have to do that. If it's just on a streaming platform, it's fine.
Which makes perfect sense. Has Steven Spielberg shat his pants in absolute despair yet?
Almost certainly. I mean, I just really don't understand the kind of the fear of streaming platforms. I mean, I understand entirely and agree with the idea of the cinema experience.
Yeah.
But I mean...
But how long has Netflix and Amazon Prime existed for?
I mean, Netflix, certainly as an internet streaming, has been around for probably the best part of a decade.
2009 they launched their streaming thing.
That sounds about right.
But even then, like, still look how big cinema releases are.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, like, it's one thing to be like, oh yeah, we want to keep cinema alive. That's fine. But just because it didn't come out in a cinema doesn't mean it's any less valid of a film.
Yeah.
Any film is a film, really. Anything should be acceptable, which is why this is a really good move. Because also think about like, say, lower budget films that maybe can't afford to get a big cinema run of any kind.
Yeah.
And then but they might be fantastic films, some of the best of the year, but they won't be valuable for the Oscars. They didn't have all the studio money behind them. So
yeah, but it's also then, it will lead to more, like a much wider distribution of certain films.
yeah. Plus, also, I think it will see a more diverse array of films being nominated as well.
I think we'll get a lot more foreign language films, which hopefully...
Yeah, as well. Like, if you think about... There's all this discussion about the Oscars being whitewashed and not being very diverse at all, which is a separate problem. But the thing is, if we have... if the bar for entry is lowered, so we get a much broader range of sort of ethnicities and sort of backgrounds of people contributing films, we'll probably get a much more diverse kind of like roster of films, provided they get chosen for the nominations, of course. But
yeah,
it's a step.
Yeah.
But yeah, other thing they've made, like the key one, they finally combined the sound categories into one Oscar.
Hooray!
Something I've been saying should have happened years ago.
Because they're essentially the same thing.
Yeah, and I think this was in the Hollywood Reporter, I was reading this, and the quote there said, like, yeah, we've noticed for the past couple of years that there's been a lot of overlap between the two nominated categories. I'm like, you don't fucking say. But yes, sound is now one Oscar. But
good.
Yeah, that's... I mean, it's not a massive difference. It's just something that always bothered me that it was a separate discipline, but... whatever. Right, and on to the other sort of big piece of news that happened last week, is what I'm sort of dubbing the cinema wars. So, as we know, cinemas are now shut at the moment, and there's a lot of releases, the main ones being like Trolls World Tour, which sort of were too late to really delay the release and sort of had to come out on streaming only. Now, Trolls World Tour has made bank, supposedly.
Yes,
Universal's like...
It's made a lot more money than it would have done in cinemas, apparently.
Which, on a side note, I don't think is necessarily because Trolls World Tour is an amazing film or because streaming is necessarily the best platform. I think it's simply, considering the circumstances, when there's one way to watch films and there's lots of kids at home and there's only really one new kids film out, I think it's sort of just right place, right time.
Yeah.
But
also,
whatever.
like, it is almost definitely easier in general to... stick your kid in front of the TV in your house than taking them all the way to the cinema.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially if you've got like hyperactive children or ones which just aren't going to behave themselves in public. Streaming will be a lot better for that kind of age, yeah. But so basically Universal's been like, okay, well, streaming's worked out really well. Maybe in future we'll start doing simultaneous multi-platform releasing and streaming on the same day as cinema releasing. Not a new concept, but at either rate...
not at all.
Odeon has shat the bed and been like, oh, no, there's a 90-day period in the contract where it's going to be exclusive, where cinemas have exclusive rights to show films before they can go on home media. And by doing that, you're spitting in our faces and taking our business away. Get back to. But so basically, Odeon has now decided to ban all Universal films from their cinemas. And then, like the next day, Cineworld, was it Cineworld?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Cineworld also was like, we're also going to ban Universal films. And, I mean, there's not been any more on this since, but, I mean, this is absolutely crazy. I mean, for one thing, if we consider Universal as Bond at the moment, so No Time to Die, which is coming out in November, at this rate, we've got the end of the Bond franchise that's been waited on for years. It's this big, action blockbuster spectacle with, like, millions of fans across the world. And Odeon and Cineworld are deciding not to show it in a theatre because Universal decide they want to do simultaneous multi-platform releasing. Like, it's absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, like, it is insane. Because also, it just feels like, they're throwing their toys out the pram for no reason other than, like, they think they're going to lose money. But I feel like by not showing their films, you're only going to lose money as well. And you've chosen the path that will lead you to losing even more money.
I mean, that's like saying, oh, well, I might lose my foot if I walk in this bear trap. I'll just cut it off first anyway, just to save me the trouble. Yeah. Firstly, the idea that streaming will pull business away from cinemas is is hyped up a lot more than it actually is. Because we've seen this technique happen before, and people will always go to the cinemas. There is always going to be an audience of people who want to see things on a big screen because
Yeah.
either the home system isn't good enough, and the cinemas in a lot of cases better value.
Yeah.
Certainly, if they're going to be streaming things at the same price that Charles World Tour was, like we were saying, it's going to be just better value to go to the cinema in most
Yeah,
cases.
definitely. Because that's the other thing. The reason Universal wanted to do this is because they think they can make absolute bank off it. But that's not necessarily true. And I think people would rather rather than having to fork out 20 quid per film to watch it on a shitty home screen, you'd rather pay 5 quid to see it on the massive screen.
And that's the thing as well, because I mean, on the one hand, I mean, if streaming like every release that came to theaters as well happened, what would happen is more people would see films because not everyone can get to a cinema. So like we're talking about Color Out of Space came out a couple of months ago that we wanted to see,
Yes.
but we just couldn't get to a cinema, or if we could have, it was like in London, we'd have to pay 20 quid on the train to get up there, which is more than the film costs.
Yeah.
So we just didn't bother. But if it had streamed, we'd have watched it, and then that would still be money to the no one loses by having every platform available. What happens is everyone chooses what works best for them. And in a lot of cases, the cinema probably work best for a lot of people because it is, and most people do agree, the best way to watch a film. It's what they're designed for.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there'll always be people who need streaming and who will prefer it, and they'll have that. But I mean,
And also,
I don't
even
see.
if they only do it on kids' films, like, how much do kids' films, on average, actually make in the cinema? Because if you think about, obviously there's massive ones like the Disney films and that, but I can guarantee you that the Paw Patrol tie-in film that was in this screens at View wasn't making the big bucks.
No, well, to be fair, that was barely even a film, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was only 45 minutes long.
Yeah, I think half of it's an advert of something else as well, from what I've heard.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other thing as well is if we got, I mean, firstly, before I do this, every cinema chain boycotting one studio is not going to happen because that's utterly stupid. So what is going to happen is if Odeon's pulled out and Cineworld's pulled out, eventually we're going to have like maybe say View and like Showcase being the only cinemas left. And we're going to end up with just like one cinema having exclusive rights to distribution of a studio's catalogue, which has basically been back to how it used to be in like the 30s where we had cinema chains owned by the studios themselves. And if you want to see a Universal film, you go to a Universal studio.
Yeah, and then they got done for monopolising, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's just such a crazy overreaction to this entire thing. And again, this happened before. Like, I think it was A Field in England we studied at A-level, which, when it came out, was released in cinemas and on DVD and VOD all on the same day. And it made a perfectly reasonable amount of money in all three platforms.
Yeah.
You know, it works. And that's over 10 years ago.
Also, this could be the new, like, straight-to-DVD thing. Because a lot of these Universal might churn out a load of shitters that they just don't think there's any point putting them in cinemas, and they can then put them straight to rent or to buy, and then they might make more money than they would than putting them in a cinema and having them completely flop.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a completely reasonable and understandable business move from the Universal's point of view, and Odeon have just shat the bed and are really upset about it and are just moaning, and it's just silly.
Yeah, I would be willing to bet that in a few months' time or so, maybe when all this virus stuff is starting to lift, and Odeon realizes basically what they've done, especially in terms of, eschewing any profits from Bond, I reckon they'll come crawling back. But I just can't see this in any way. It's just an overreaction, really.
But also, it just makes me want to go to, I mean, not that I would anyway, but go to an Odeon or a Cineworld even less. Because now not only do they not have some of the films that I want to see, but I know that they're all moany and stupid. Just bad business people. Yeah,
it's like cinemas are struggling, but they're definitely going to struggle more if you just decide not to show the films.
I mean, surely they should. Yeah, they should want to show as many films as they want. What they should be doing is like, because if they could get the rights or somehow to show their Netflix films, I feel like even more people would flock to the cinemas, wouldn't they?
Yeah, like, I mean, Irishman, it had like a very limited cinema release in America, but certainly over here was pretty much only Netflix. But I would have liked to have seen The Irishman on the big screen.
Yeah. Well, one of the films we saw, we again talked about today, Extraction, like, I would have wanted to see that in cinema. I feel like I probably would have enjoyed it more if I'd seen it in cinema.
Yeah, absolutely. That's like a big, loud, action-packed, blockbuster. It was designed to be seen in the cinema.
Yeah.
It doesn't have quite the same impact on my little 32-inch screen
Yeah.
coming out. No, I haven't got my soundbar working even, so the sound wasn't even that good.
Yeah. So, I don't know, it's dumb. I think you're right. They'll come crawling back.
But on the subject of the cinema staying open, so basically Christopher Nolan's Tenet is supposed to be coming out in July.
Yeah.
And obviously Nolan's quite anal about exactly how his films are seen. Basically does not want his new film to be a straight streaming release, because he was like, I want it to be in the cinema. It's designed for the cinema. And that's fair, because he does very much
and also,
have the cinema experience is like built into his films very much.
And he films everything on IMAX cameras, doesn't he?
Yeah. So with View, I think it's exclusive with View. I don't know to what extent he's contacted other cinemas, but basically View are hopefully going to try and open in July, supposedly, to accommodate release of Tenet.
Really?
Yeah.
Can he not just delay it?
Apparently not. But so this is basically based on the idea that if our Prime Minister eases the restrictions like they've been talking about, they might be able to do this. If he doesn't, they can't. But
Right.
I think the idea is basically in the same way shops at the moment are basically controlling how many people go into the store at once.
Yeah.
They're going to do something like that at the cinema, and you have to leave X number of gaps between seats, kind of thing.
Yeah. It was like more than every other seat, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll be. I mean, it'll probably be every like 2 seats between everyone or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something that is in theory going to happen. I mean, I think it would have been wise to just delay it, because I don't think, as much as I love Nolan, I'm sure Tenet's going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
I think the pandemic is more important.
Yes.
Like, I would have just delayed it.
Yeah, I would have just delayed it.
Yeah. But I mean, it'll be interesting to see how that works. I mean, because if that does go all right, then maybe cinemas will be opening a lot sooner than we expect them to.
Yeah.
But,
I don't know. Still feels risky to risk people's lives just for the sake of your film, but
yeah. And then last piece of news I've got, which I read this morning, is apparently Tom Cruise is in talks with NASA and SpaceX to shoot the first action film set in space and shot in space.
What a visionary.
Yeah. George Méliès, never heard of him. But yeah, I mean, it's very much in the sort of discussing how possible it is kind of stage, but
is that for Mission Impossible, I'm guessing?
No, it's not Mission Impossible.
It's not for Mission Impossible.
No, but it is Tom Cruise produced and presumably acted, and then
right.
I feel like SpaceX is going to fund it in some way. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, so that could happen.
Okay,
it's pretty exciting.
That is exciting. That's very exciting, actually. But will that not be very similar to the like the 0G planes they have?
With the vomit comets.
Yeah, because they've already shot the action scenes in there.
Yeah, well, I mean, the main thing is it'll probably be less time consuming, because the thing with that is you only get like 30 seconds of weightlessness. I mean, you've got to wait for the plane to get back.
You say it's less time consuming. I mean, they literally have to put several people into space.
Well, that's the thing, because film crews aren't exactly small in most cases, so especially for an action film, they're going to have to get a lot of people.
That cameraman just be like, "Oh yeah, I'm off to work. See you in 3 weeks. I'm going to fucking space."
Oh, it'd be great though, wouldn't it?
That would be awesome.
I mean, that'd be the shoot of a lifetime.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd be really interesting to see, like, if they do an action film in space, to do it like, rather than just be like lots of gunplay, I'd like to see like lots of martial arts stuff using zero gravity.
Yeah.
Like some really awesome, like John Wick level.
Obviously, they can't fire guns in space, can
Well, yeah,
they?
that's the other thing. But instead of doing like Moonraker-esque sort of like pew pew
Pew,
space
pew,
guns kind
pew,
of thing,
pew.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like to see like some really cool like zero G sort of martial arts inspired stuff. I think that'd be really interesting to see.
That could be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's something to watch out for.
That's interesting. You say what you want about Tom Cruise. Like, yeah, he's a super weird dude, but his absolute commitment to, like, stunt work is amazing,
Yeah.
I think.
He's basically the Buster Keaton of our day.
Yeah.
And like not only does he do his own stunts, but he's never satisfied unless they're like the most wildly ridiculous and dangerous thing you can possibly be doing.
But also, he just keeps them getting more and more insane, doesn't he? Like, it's just so good.
Just has like a death wish.
I think the most recent Mission Impossible films have been really good.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's not, a good part of why they're so good are because of him and his passion and joy for making those films.
Yeah, I know like the stunt work in it and the set pieces revolving around Tom Cruise are always highlights of the film.
Yeah.
Like think about the helicopter chase at the end of Fallout.
Yeah.
That was so such a perfect sort of third act kind of climax. And there's all the stunt work again for the most part was just Tom Cruise doing it for real.
Yeah.
Like the absolute madman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so Field of Streams this week. Just got one from Andrew, so take it away.
Yes. So I want to recommend a documentary series on Netflix. I think the third series has just come out. It's called The Toys That Made Us. And it is basically about toys that are just household names now. So I think the first series has got loads of absolute classics in it, like there's G.I. Joe, Barbie, Lego, Star Wars toys, like loads of stuff. There's like wrestling toys, and there's there's 3 series, and they're all really good, and they're all just really fun little documentaries about these toys that everyone's heard of and about the history of the companies and stuff. And I think like the Lego one is particularly interesting because like Lego nowadays, they're like an absolute titan of the toy industry, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
But they were so close to going bankrupt, like twice. Like once in the early noughties and then once in like the 80s as well. Like they were really close to going bankrupt. And it's like incredible. Like I never would have thought they were ever in financial trouble considering they've got
especially not in our lifetime. The early noughties was when I was really into my Lego.
Yeah, exactly. It's like in the early noughties they had to sell one of their theme parks because they were in that much trouble.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's like they're really interesting stuff. And there's another one like we watched the Barbie one. And the creator, or one of the creators of Barbie, she got fired from her own company because she had been embezzling loads of money from it. It's so weird. And she's like this little old woman, and you just never expect her to be anything but this sweet, innocent old lady who just wants to make toys to make kids happy. And
that's why she did it.
Super
because no one would ever
shady
suspect her.
Yeah, exactly. It's so weird. But yeah, they are really interesting. The other thing is, strangely, they're edited like YouTube videos is the best way I can describe it.
Right.
Like they've got this almost like meme quality to them. Some of them do, especially the Lego one. It's just that, I don't know, that they feel like if I saw them on YouTube, I wouldn't have been surprised at all. Like they look like a very well made YouTube video. Not that that's not a bad thing, right?
I was going to say, that sounds like an insult.
It's not an insult. I'm not saying it's an insult. I'm just saying like that's the best way I can to describe them. Basically, you wouldn't see it on the BBC. Put it that way. Right.
I thought that should be a quote on the poster.
Yeah.
Too hot for the BBC.
But yeah, they are very good. They are very interesting, and I think if you've got any interest in toys at all, you should give it a watch.
Okay, great. And where can people watch that?
It's all on Netflix.
On Netflix, great.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's the end of this week's Field of Streams. So, on to our reviews, because for the first time in a while, we've got something to review.
Hey, something new.
Which, to be fair, there have been films coming out which just haven't been. Then normally just we have to pay for them. We can't be asked.
Yeah. Who pays for things these days?
Yeah, God, what is this, capitalist society? Yes, so we've watched Extraction, which is the new Chris Hemsworth action blockbustery thing that's come out on Netflix in the past week or so. So it's basically about there's these two drug lords in is it Bombay, was it?
No, it is in the capital city of Bangladesh, which I cannot remember the name of now.
Wherever that is. But yeah, basically one of these drug kingpins kidnaps the other's child and holds him hostage and to ransom. And because the other one doesn't want to pay that ransom, he hires extraction extraordinaire Chris Hemsworth, because I can't remember his actual name. It was something really,
Tyler.
really like
Tyler.
Yeah, it was like Tyler Rake or something.
I mean, I think it is literally Tyler Rake. Yeah.
But hires Tyler Rake to come and get him out, and then things start to go downhill in the way these films generally kind of do. So yeah, I mean, I thought it was basically fine. It's I mean,
it's Dhaka is the city.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's sort of a standard action popcorn affair. There's not much depth to it. But then I wasn't expecting depth.
So well, when I watched it, I don't know, it was sort of a bit nothingy to me. It felt like a John Wick wannabe, but just not. I don't know. I don't want to say it wasn't executed as well, because the action is very good, but I just didn't get the same satisfaction as I got watching John Wick.
I can see what you mean about the sort of John Wick wannabe, because certainly the fight choreography reminded me of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so the big thing everyone's talking about is this this scene around the middle, which is sort of made to look like it's one shot, but in a sort of a Birdman way, not in like a proper way. So it's lots of small things stitched together. And it does. Yeah. It is definitely the highlight of the film. It goes from
100%.
Goes from a car chase to then like up into a building and across several sort of rooms and flats and back down to the street into another car chase. All and that's very well done. But the problem is, not only is the sort of the stitching together the shots really obvious, but I think it actually it kind of breaks the immersion, because so if you got a shot, say, and it's pointing, there's a bit where someone gets thrown off a balcony and the camera sort of tilts down to show them. And then it sort of tilts back and up and to the left. But instead of being one smooth motion, it sort of goes up and abruptly shifts to the left. Because you can tell where the two shots are sort of stitched together. And like, there's a lot of that in it.
Yeah.
Which was a shame, because otherwise it was a really good sequence, but the stitching didn't quite work. Which is a bit of a nitpicky thing, but...
Yeah. I thought it was good. It was all right.
Yeah. But I mean, the action was still choreographed nicely. And I think the handheld work in particular was... Like camera work was really good for that. It just didn't have like you're saying, the same sort of level of for something like John Wick.
I just feel like it was obviously what I've written here in my notes is it's a stuntman's ode to John Wick. But yeah, it's got, I feel like it also tries to be like the Raid as well.
Yeah, I can see that.
So you know, in that where he gets captured and he gets taken to this flat, and and he goes back into the flat and he beats everyone up and he shoots one of them and then he loses his gun, so he's got to go hand to hand with them, which is fine. And I feel like they were trying to do this Raid thing. Have you seen the Raid?
I have seen the Raid. I haven't seen the second one yet, but I have seen the first one.
Second one's good. Yeah, but you know that I feel like they were trying to do that, but it was just nowhere near. I don't know, it wasn't as... When you watch The Raid, I was, like, blown away by how incredible the choreography is and, like, how tense it is and how excellent it is and all these bits that make you go, oh!
Yeah.
Whereas in that scene in Extraction, I was like, this is good, but it's no Raid or John Wick.
Yeah. We've been spoiled recently by action choreography.
Yeah.
And going from strength to strength. But I mean, 10 years ago, this would probably have been like groundbreaking.
Yeah, I think, it probably genuinely would have done. The other thing I've written down here is, I don't know what you thought, right? But I thought at some point, Chris Hemsworth's accent, his natural Australian accent, was so thick sometimes I just had no idea what he was saying.
I did have that, actually. I I came very close to putting on subtitles. At
Yeah,
one point,
so did I,
there was a
'cause
lot
I
of dialogue. I'm like, sorry, what?
Yeah, I just could not understand it. And there's this like pivotal scene where you find out about his backstory, and he's got like this really intensely emotional backstory about his child that died, and I had no clue what he was saying that whole time. I was just like, okay, I know I'm supposed to be feeling bad for you. I've got a fucking clue what you're saying, so I'm sorry.
Speaking of the tragic backstory, I felt like that didn't. It felt like it was shoved in there for the sake of having it, so he wasn't just a
Yeah.
one-dimensional character.
Yeah.
But like, not fleshed out in any way to actually make him not a one-dimensional character. So he's just a one-dimensional character with a vague backstory. I'm like, what? Okay.
Yeah, it didn't really affect anything at all, did it? It was
No.
like, oh, he's supposed to have like PTSD because his child died or something, but then, I mean, that doesn't do anything. It
Yeah.
has literally zero effect on the plot at all. It's like, at least in John Wick, you know, as much as the dog dying is an excuse for the whole film to go on,
Yeah.
at least it's sort of there, and you can see then, oh, this is like the revenge thriller and whatever, and you've got
Like the closest I could see it being was like, oh, he's lost a child, so therefore by having to like protect this child, he's sort of going to have like an unnaturally emotional attachment to it.
yeah.
Like, and like that would be the way I'd do it if I was writing it, but that aspect was at best hinted at.
Yeah. So the other thing I thought, it was a bit like Saving Private Ryan, in the way that in Saving Private Ryan, the US military spends literally millions of dollars, thousands of US Marines' lives to save one man.
Who didn't even want to be saved.
Who didn't want to be saved. And I was like, it really gave me that much, because it's like, he kills so many people, his company go in, loads of them die, just to save this one boy, and it's like, fair enough, without that there wouldn't be a plot, but also, it just gave me this feel, it's like, what's the point, you know? I got that very, meh.
To be fair, it's the life of an innocent child, as opposed to like, you know,
Yeah.
just a grown man who's in a war willingly, and this is a child who's being held to ransom, is probably going to be tortured and killed. So I mean, it's a bit more sympathetic.
But the other thing, they were like, halfway through the film, or maybe not half, like, but the beginning of the third act, they're like, okay, Chris Hemsworth, we've got a helicopter for you. Leave the kid, get on the helicopter, and we'll get you out of here. He's like, no, I can't leave the kid. But they're like, okay, well, we can't take the kid. And then in the next scene, they're like, okay, we'll take the kid. And there's like, okay, you've just changed your mind. That's fine. And then they get the helicopter, and it's like, okay, well, what about there was a whole thing about how they couldn't take the child, and they were just going to dump him because they're supposed to be these cutthroat mercenaries, but all of them have just changed their tune out of nowhere, and they're all happy, friendly people who are completely fine with now looking after this child. I was just like, okay, they just changed their minds out of nowhere. What's that about?
Yeah, you're right. I hadn't thought about that, actually. You're spot on. Yeah, I mean, that's the last thing I wanted to say. So this film's rated 18, and the very vague description on the BFC is for violence and injury detail. Now, the thing is, the violence in this film is like sub John Wick, I'd say.
Yeah.
Like in terms of like the gore, in fact, John Wick's probably actually like, I'd say John Wick and 3 and Joker, which are both also 15, were probably more gory than this.
Yes.
So I have a theory that the reason it's an 18 is because it involves children. It's like, you know, there's that scene where the that child is just thrown off a roof.
Oh yeah.
So I reckon because of that scene, plus also just the general idea of children being given guns and adults and being told to go and shoot people.
Yeah.
Because it involves children, I reckon that's why it's got an 18.
Yeah. I mean, also, I mean, spoilers, but he does.
Yeah, but that's still 15 level though nowadays.
True. Well, yeah. I mean, I was gonna say like there's the bit, you know, where he sticks someone's like what was it, like a rake into someone's eye, and I was like, but they cut away from that.
Exactly, but that's off screen. That's what I'm saying. If that was on screen, then that would be like strong enough for an 18 in most cases, but because they cut away, but it's still 18, which is why it's. So I'm like, there must be something else. So I reckon it's because it involves the children.
Yeah.
Because there's no like one moment of violence which seems like 18 worthy in it. Besides,
Yeah.
it's just
Possibly.
an interesting observation. I'd be interested to see if that's what it is. But I mean, unless the BFC makes a podcast about it specifically, because their website seems to have been more vague than usual recently, which is annoying. Because I'd like to read up exactly on why they made the decisions, especially when I was writing about it at uni. But
Yeah. What do you think about? So I've seen a couple of things on the internet and from people I've spoken to, right at the end, like the last shot of the boy swimming in the swimming pool. I'll give a big spoiler warning there.
spoiler warning, skip ahead.
Do you think it was Mr. Chris Hemsworth at the end there?
What do you mean that it was? I mean, my reading of it was basically the idea that the kids sort of, because he basically goes to idolize Chris Hemsworth.
Well,
And that,
because there's a theory that he's still alive, and
oh no, well, no,
so yeah, I get that reading as well, because I'm like, there's absolutely no way he survived getting multiple gunshot wounds, one through the throat, and then falling
fall in
into
water.
arguably one of the most heavily polluted rivers in the entire world.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, my reading of the ending was more that like, so yeah, because this kid has idolized Chris Hemsworth, and now he's sort of going to follow in his footsteps and grow up to become like an extractor. That
Yeah.
was my reading of it.
What did you think of the acting?
I thought the acting wasn't actually that bad for this kind of film.
I thought the boy was good.
Yeah, the writing didn't give him enough depth to really get into it, but for what there was, I thought the acting was actually pretty decent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought, I don't know, yeah, it was alright.
yeah, it does what it says on the tin. You know, it's just standard. It's an action blockbuster, not high art, nothing amazing, but it's sort of. I enjoyed watching it, so
I don't think I would watch it again.
no,
If
I
I
don't
was
think
going to
would either.
watch something in that vein, I would watch The Raid again. Of all the three, of those three things, so like John Wick, Extraction, and The Raid, I would watch The Raid again.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah. The other thing is he seemingly shrugs off pain like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah,
I mean, I suppose John Wick does the same thing, but John Wick doesn't ever get, actual gaping gunshot wounds, and then he's in the next scene fisticuffed,
I mean, it's kind of the problem with the sort of one-man army kind of style of film where you do, after a while, be like, okay, how is he still not just like a crumpled pile on the floor?
Yeah.
Like, one thing I really like about Die Hard is that, that it's still like a one-man army kind of film. There's quite a lot of John McClane, like, sitting around nursing his injuries and pulling glass out of his feet.
Yeah.
And, like, I think Die Hard pretty much is the exemplar of this kind of genre.
Yeah.
And like, but that's another point I was going to make is like, because the reason we get so invested in John McClane in Die Hard is because he's a cop, which explains why he has this sort of know-how and experience, but he's ultimately just like a normal person who's been caught up in these circumstances, so he feels more vulnerable. Well, in this one, the problem with Tyler Rake, because he's like, he's the best extractor in the world, and he's incredibly trained, and he is already a one-man army. It's like, okay, well, I'm not surprised when he doesn't die,
Yeah.
which isn't, I mean, because John Wick shows that can work, having like, this man is like this indestructible one-man army, and let's watch him go.
But also John Wick's got the thing where he's got the whole gadgets. It's like he has the bulletproof suit, so it's more excusable than in this.
But yeah, it's just in Extraction. It was bothering me in particular. There was something about like, oh, he's gonna fight a guy.
Yeah.
Oh, he's won against a guy. That's because he's got much more experience and years of training. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. I would say this is based off a comic book.
Oh, I didn't know that. Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is based off a comic book, and the same one. I think it's the same man that wrote the Kick-Ass comic books. Okay, it's a random tidbit that's got absolutely nothing to do with this conversation. You're welcome.
Okay, so let's end the episode with a spoiler corner on Gravity Falls.
Yay!
Because Andrew has finally reached the end of it, and I want to talk to him about it.
Yay!
So if you haven't seen Gravity Falls, you can stop listening to the episode now because it's a fantastic series. And I do not want to spoil the ending for anyone who hasn't seen it.
Yeah.
So here's your warning. There'll be links on YouTube video.
And if you listen to it on Spotify, just get fucked.
Well, yeah, if you're listening on Spotify, just sort of close the video now because this will be the end of the episode after this. Okay. Right. Gravity Falls, in the ending, just to recap. So we have this final showdown with Bill.
Yep.
And we've got the two stands. And they're basically... Their plan is to do a switcheroo.
Yeah.
So that Bill is wanting to make a deal with Ford to get into his mind, but they switch it so they get him into Stan's mind and then wipe his mind to kill Bill. Kill Bill. Which is such a powerful moment. And
It's fantastic.
Like, it's so sad.
Yeah.
To see like Stan will make the ultimate sacrifice for his kids, and there's this humility of knowing that he's not some genius. He thinks he's less valuable to the kids because he's not some genius. He is basically just like a failure of a parent or whatever, or grandparent. Or Grunkle.
I want to say so much about Stan because I feel like Stan is just an excellent character.
He's such a great flawed character because he's so full of love, even though he does bad things and isn't the best at his sort of at looking after the kids. He cares for them so much, and he'll make the ultimate sacrifice for them.
Yeah, he's such a wonderful character. I think for that reason, but he's flawed, but also his willingness to sacrifice himself for other people.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so we have this amazing scene, a scene that sort of made me tear up a bit. And we see Stan have his mind wiped.
Yeah.
And we see him later in the forest. He has no memory at all of any of his family around him, which is the ultimate sacrifice. He loves his family so much, but he'll never know them and never get to remember all the things they had together. And then it just magically comes back and he's fine.
Yeah.
But the thing is, because I have mixed feelings about this ending, because on the one hand, if they kept it so he didn't have any memory at all, it would be the ending that we then have wouldn't be as good. It wouldn't be as great an ending, I feel, if he was just brain. Because I mean, that's a very.
It would also be absolutely gut-wrenchingly sad as well, especially for a kids show. Like that's a real kick in the tits. Yeah,
that'd be such a bad, like, downer ending. But then, so on the one hand, I sort of support the idea of him coming back. And I do like the idea they sort of essentially bring him back by regaling with the stories of their holiday there and all the things they've done.
It's nice.
That's cute. But on the other hand, as a writer, the whole peril is about, we can get rid of Bill, but to do it, we'll have to lose Stan. Oh no, he's fine. It's back. No consequences.
I feel like they had to.
Death is meaningless.
Yeah, I feel like that was the problem. Like they couldn't. I feel like because it's a kids show, they couldn't leave it like that. Which is it's slightly disappointing that they instantly reverted. I would have preferred them being like, if Ford had, then started inventing something to try and get his memory back, or some, or some sort of eventually he'll get it back, but not right now, or something like that. My
idea was, so maybe if they go to where the Society of the Blind Eye was, and they'd find somewhere like an old backup of Stan's memory for some reason.
Oh yeah.
And then they'd restore it, but maybe he didn't know about certain things that had happened. Then they could fill him in on it. And they'd still have that sort of ending. I don't know. It just, the idea of it just magically comes back out of nowhere doesn't make sense. And it's just, and again, like just completely ruins the sort of the impact of that sacrifice. But then I don't know how else to really make that work.
Gravity Falls is absolutely fantastic. And it is one of the only shows where I love every single character.
Yeah.
And like, I hate Gideon, but you're supposed to hate Gideon.
Yeah, and you love to hate him.
And you love to hate him because he's such a little shit.
And he's also funny. Like, the stuff he says is actually funny.
Yeah. And Bill Cipher is a fantastic villain. But I love how, like, quirky and funny he is. It's amazing that every single character, I just absolutely love them.
Yeah.
And for some reason, Grenda makes me, like, cry with laughter. I just find her so funny, and I just don't know why. But of all the characters, she just like makes me just crease up so much.
And like I was saying to you the other day, like I find it really interesting how they took Pacifica, who was in season one, introduced as specifically a one-dimensional kind of villain character, or antagonist at least, and then they completely turn her around and make her like so much more likable,
Yeah.
and give her a backstory and a redemption arc that makes sense. It all in one episode in season two, and
That is a fantastic episode as well.
that is one of the best episodes. There's so many good. There we go. What's your favorite episode of Gravity Falls?
Oh Christ, that is hard.
It is hard, isn't it?
There are so many utterly fantastic ones, though.
Okay, I'll help you out. We'll exclude Not What He Seems and Tale of Two Stands, because obviously those two are like the best.
Those ones are magnificent.
Yeah, those are some of the best episodes of television I think I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like along with like Shut Up and Dance from Black Mirror and Time's Arrow. Like that's one of my favourite TV episodes.
Yeah, I genuinely
of all time.
think Not What He Seems is probably the best episode.
Yeah.
Just because that is incredible.
So I know certainly my favourite of season one is Time Traveler's Pig.
Yeah.
So I think it's such a great. Firstly, it executes its own concept so perfectly, and the character in that I think works better than a lot of the episodes in season one does.
Yeah.
And also, just there's so many great jokes in it, and Waddles is amazing.
Yeah.
I want Waddles. I want a pig who makes little noises. Waddles.
Into the Bunker, that was a good episode.
Into the Bunker is really good. That was my favourite for a while in season two. I love as well. Like even though again it's a Disney show technically, it gets so dark. Like some of the imagery in Into the Bunker, in particular, I'm being like, this is genuinely quite freaky.
Yeah.
Like when the shapeshifter turns into like Dipper and Mabel at the same time, it's like this like something from The Thing, like this weird, not quite human like monstrosity. Like that's such a great image. That's so scary for a kids thing.
Yeah.
But it fits so well, and I love that it has the balls to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I love it. It's such a good show, and so the ending as well, like the Weird Mageddon, is so incredible. Like it's just pure animation used to its absolute like pinnacle, isn't it? It's
Absolutely
amazing. I think it's just.
I love as well how it collides so many different like types of post-apocalypse as well. Like we get bits like Mad Max in there, and we get like sort of almost like the rock album like apocalypse. They point out like they sort of have used bits of all these different types of apocalypse all
and there's
mashed
Cthulhu
together.
is in there as well, which was
fun.
But I love,
and also
you just could not do that in live action at all without it looking terrible or being entirely CG anyway.
no, it. One of the things I love so much about Gravity Falls is it does so much with the animation.
Yeah.
Like there's loads of episodes where it just like they take full advantage of that and have such interesting imagery and concepts. Like the Dreamscapers from season one, where they go into Stan's mind.
Yes.
Like you could sort of do that in live action, but like I love the limitless potential of animation gives the episode so much more sort of freedom to do stuff than it would in live action, I think.
Yeah, it's excellent. I love Mabel. I love Dipper. I love Seuss. I just love.
Who's your favourite character?
I mean, Granda.
Okay.
Probably nah. Of the main ones, it's got to be Grunkle Stan.
Yeah, I mean, I love Grunkle Stan. I love Mabel. I don't know if I can choose.
I also love Mabel, but then
it might be Stan. I don't know. Stan is so good.
Stan is probably my favourite. But also, I feel like they give Stan a lot of the more adult themed jokes as well.
Oh yeah,
which is why I found him a lot, very funny now.
Oh yeah.
Also,
you should go on Alex Hirsch's Twitter. It's just loads of stuff like that.
Yeah, he's brilliant. I think he's really funny.
Yeah, and actually, but to bring this to a close, like there's a lot of fans who keep saying like, "Oh, where's season 3 coming? When are we going to get season 3?" Doing a season 3 of Gravity Falls would completely ruin the point.
Yeah, it would absolutely
like,
would.
What I love about Gravity Falls so much is it knew exactly when to stop. It's like, look, they're only here for one summer. We're gonna finish the mystery and then that's it. That's the end of the story. It is a limited story. We're not gonna pad it out. And that they had the balls to end it when he did. Right when it was getting to like the height of its popularity. Sort of similar to how Breaking Bad is. Like, no, because I've ended the story, it's here.
Yeah.
However, what I do think would be interesting, if he was forced by contract or something to go and do more Gravity Falls, what do you think about like a set like 10 years later,
So
when
there was
all the kids have grown up and they return to Gravity Falls?
okay. Well, I saw some fan art of it being Dipper.
It's a dangerous route to go down.
Well, yeah, of Dipper and Mabel being adults and their kids going to Gravity Falls.
Okay.
And I was like, that could be quite cool.
I think if they had to make a sequel to it, it would have to be set when they're adults and coming back after all this time, as opposed to like just going straight back.
Yeah.
But like I can imagine like Dipper going back and like he's now grown up, he's graduated from university, he's now like a paranormal investigator.
Yeah.
And like, because you know there's the Bill statue
Yes.
at the end, right at the end of the credits.
Yeah.
But yeah, so but ultimately I do think Gravity Falls would be stronger if they just left as it is.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
moved on to something else.
Because also there's nowhere really else to go, is there? Like, all their journals are destroyed, Bill's been beaten, like...
That's the other thing as well, it wraps up so many...
They could explore some of the weird stuff of Gravity Falls, but it wraps up so nicely that there's nowhere else they could really go.
Yeah. But I am awaiting with bated breath whatever Alex Hirsch does next. And I think he is working on something. No idea what, but like...
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see. Okay, so I think we'll close the episode out there. You've been listening to Ciné Rambles with Nick.
And Andrew.
You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/CinéRamblesOfficial, and you can follow us on Twitter at Ciné Rambles. And for more content, you can read the blog over at cinerambles.blogspot.com. And as always, if you have any reviews or suggestions or any viewpoints you want us to read out on the show, feel free to email us at cinerambles@gmail.com. So have you got any closing remarks before we finish for the week?
Do you want to hear a joke?
Sure.
My wife missed me. But her aim is getting better.
It's funny because marriage is terrible.
I bet no one will get that unless they listen to the spoiler corners bit. Anyway, bye.
Bye.